Order! Order! You are an incorrigible delinquent at times. Behave yourself, man!
Death by 1,000 cuts. That's what the UK car industry is warning could be its fate if it doesn't get clear government guidance on post-Brexit trading. Today, motor industry bosses said investment has already slumped as the chance of a no-deal EU departure remains on the table. They may also have to deal with a trade war, with tariffs being swapped across the Atlantic. Our economics correspondent, Helia Ebrahimi, has this.
Britain's car industry has had a 10-year purple patch, a McLaren compared to the Ford Focus of the rest of UK manufacturing. But today the warning was that growth could go into reverse. We're a long way since the dog days of British Leyland, but all the big manufacturers on UK shores are actually foreign-owned, and 80% of what they make is exported. For them, Brexit trade restrictions and the prospect of no deal means a root and branch shift in how they invest in the UK.
This could fundamentally affect the competitiveness we had. We have attracted so much investment and grown over the last 10 years because we've been productive and we've been competitive internationally. Brexit could fundamentally undermine that for the long term, so it'd be long-term impacts.
And here's what's on the line. Cars generate £82 billion in turnover, with bumper growth every year since 2010. The industry creates 856,000 jobs, but in the first half of this year, investment has crashed by almost 50%, a warning sign, say company bosses. The great and the good of the car industry are gathered here today, united in one fear: Brexit. They're warning to government that the UK could face death by 1,000 cuts if we don't get a deal with the EU, and soon. But their threat is a kind of hefty gun with no clear bullet, as manufacturers like BMW swerve any suggestions that they might consider closing their UK plants. Executives say they don't want to go to war with the government, but they're furious that details of a trade deal are no more clear now than they were 2 years ago. Industrial language from the Foreign Secretary hasn't helped.
I don't underestimate the complexities of what is being initiated here, but I would say that we are 2 years down the road right now and we should be making more progress. I would be really upset if the UK car industry was knocked off course. Do I think that it would be not completely off course? No, I don't. However, it could, and it is, a risk that we would ideally not have to undertake.
It's not just Brexit and it's not just cars. President Trump lashed out at US company Harley-Davidson. During the presidential campaign and when he first took office, the president heaped praise on the motorbike marque for being made in America. But it seems the company has had lots of overseas plants, and today it announced they were moving even more production off US soil to avoid EU tariffs in the latest chapter of the tit-for-tat international trade war. In economic terms, Brexit is one part of the wider global retrenchment of trade. Leaders go head-to-head, and company boardrooms count the cost. But there's another trend, which company bosses hope will work in their favour.
What we see now is much more artificial intelligence. You could phrase it, we're going from mass production to math production. It's really mathematics which is fueling the future of our cars. The UK, as all countries in the world, has a gigantic opportunity for the next decade to change the way we transport people. We are at the brink of a massive change, and that will have a huge impact on our common future.
Over the decades, that's the vision. But over the next few months, car companies will be obsessing over the new Brexit terms of our common future with Europe.
Perhaps it isn't surprising for an industry that thinks a lot about speed, but the motor industry has joined in the demands for the government to get a move on with Brexit. The Society of Motor Manufacturing says investment has already almost halved, and it predicts jobs will be lost if Britain leaves the EU without a trade deal and ends up with tariffs imposed on British-built cars. In fact, one car parts manufacturer we spoke to today threatened to shift production to Europe if there was no deal.
This company near Reading supplies components for nearly every car maker in Europe. The owner says hard Brexit would make the jacks, handbrakes, pedal boxes and batteries that roll off this production line more expensive to make. In the event of no deal, he plans to shift some production to France, but he's no idea what will happen next.
People need some clarity about which way we're going.
Do you have confidence in the government?
No. I don't, because I don't hear one voice from the government to what they want to achieve from Brexit. There is a fighting between the government themselves and it's damaging for the industry.
The car industry gathered for its annual conference with a clear message for government. Unless it abandons some of the pledges it has made about Brexit, jobs will be lost.
The government has set red lines on leaving the single market and the customs union. But these red lines go directly against the interests of automotive. We must retain membership of the customs union and deliver the benefits that the single market offers.
In the run-up to the referendum, the car industry warned Brexit would be potentially disastrous. But in the last 2 years, Nissan, BMW, Toyota, Vauxhall and Jaguar Land Rover have all committed money to upgrading their British factories. However, the car industry says investment in the first 6 months of this year fell to just under £350 million, down from £650 million the year before. Many of the executives I've spoken to at this conference worry that the government is weak and divided, but some, privately, are confident that Britain is heading for the softest Brexit possible. One executive told me a government minister had reassured him there would be complete clarity by the end of October. We take that as a promise, he said. Car makers want clarity and BMW is setting deadlines. They worry about tariffs, border delays, changing regulation as Britain leaves the European Union. The Prime Minister says she's listening, but for now her red lines remain intact.
We want to ensure that we are listening to the business voice because business provides the backbone of our economy. Without the wealth that is created by business, we can't do the other things that government wants to do. The government believes we can leave the single market and the customs union and the production lines won't skip a beat. But car makers are unconvinced. They predict anything less than the close trading relationship we enjoy currently with the EU will cause damage. John Hill's News at 10.